just kind of dive right in here tonight. So I would love to know, and if you are catching this as the recordings, I want to just say, like, seriously, give yourself a pat on the back because you carved out the time to say, hey, this is important to me, and I want to listen to this. I want to tune in. I totally get that this timing does not work for everyone. So give yourself a pat on the back. But I also want to make sure if you are listening to this as the recording, I want you to participate. It might be in your head. If you're watching it on Facebook, you can totally comment as you listen, even though it may be days after. That's totally fine. But if nothing else, like answer the questions and like think of things in your head, kind of participate as if you were on here live. But I would love to know who here would like more energy. Anyone like I could take some energy, like that would be great. Send some my way. Yeah, I see you, Megan, raising your hand. And I'm curious if you're like, yes, please, everyone, exactly, Brittany. I'm curious if you are like, yep, send that energy fairy my way. Like, why do you want more energy? Why is that so important to you to have more energy? If you had more energy, what would you do with it? And thank you guys that are here live for like actually showing up in the comments and chatting. That makes this so much easier that I'm not just kind of like sitting here and talking to myself. Yeah, get more done and feel good doing it. Yes, that like and feel good doing it is everything. So it's not just like I'd get more done, but I would also feel really good getting more done. What else? Why else do you want to have more energy? I know when I talk to women and I have one-on-ones, I hear a lot of, I want more energy for my kids. So for those of you that are moms, you totally get this. And, even if you're not a mom, maybe you work with kids or maybe you help friends with kids, you babysit, you have friends, or not friends, but you have kids in your family, right? You want more energy to be able to keep up with them. I mean, they are just like energizer bunnies. They just go, 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 go. So I could be more productive, which makes me feel better mentally. Yes, absolutely. Maybe you want more energy for work, and whether that's physical and or mental energy that you're wanting more of, to keep up with things around the house, just to feel better. And you guys kind of hit on that here too. And I'm curious, have you noticed that like sometimes things that energize you, um, or let me rephrase that. Have you noticed the things that energize you versus the things that drain you? So oftentimes we can, if we really start to pay attention, we're like, oh, when I do X, Y, and Z, my energy kind of increases. I feel better versus like when I do X, Y, and Z, I tank. Like I am depleted, I am drained. Um, have you noticed those? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Again, kind of answer that for yourself. But like, have you also noticed that sometimes the same activity that gives you energy one time, maybe another time, whether it's in the week or in the month, it like completely wipes you out, right? So oftentimes we have things that energize us and things that deplete us, but there's sometimes that those things that energize us at a different time in our life or in the month or in the week, it totally depletes us. Have you ever noticed those things? Um, and I want you to kind of keep those in your mind, okay? And it's fine if you said them here. Yes. Okay. I'm glad this is resonating with you, Sarah. Like I'm glad that people are like, yes, yes. So, I want to add on to that for you here tonight from a hormonal perspective, because yep, we are all women here. If you were a man and you somehow got a hold of this, you probably don't want to listen unless you want to help better understand, your wife, which I am so proud of my husband today. Like he has been listening, probably, to my stories and all the things I've been sharing about hormones. But today, so I am 11 months postpartum and I have PCOS, which I'm going to actually, I should probably introduce myself. I'll get to that. But my period showed up today and he was like, oh, I thought you didn't have a period. And I was like, well, I mean, yeah, kind of, sort of, whatever. And he's like, but it's healthy that you have one, right? And I was like, yes, 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 you get it. So we're going to layer things in. Okay. So again, you should be a woman here. If you're a man, I don't know. But there's our hormones are at play all the time. We have lots of hormones doing lots of things each day and week that are playing into our energy and how we feel about things that are in our life. So I'm Brittany. By the way, probably should have started by introducing myself, but that's okay. I like to just like dive in and hit the ground running. I really want to maximize our time here together because I know that, again, if you carved out this time to be here, again, whether you're listening to it live or you're listening to this as the replay, I really truly want to like honor that time for you. But just to clue you in a bit on who I am and like why I have made it my mission to help more women really truly get connected to their cycle and to honor their hormones instead of hate them. Because I was diagnosed with PCOS in 2020. Yes, the year of COVID craziness. And that's the year of like, my goodness, like what else could be thrown at me when the world was shutting down? My job as a speech therapist, right? That got totally like flipped upside down. I was planning a wedding and I had to shift all kinds of things around there. And we were ready to start a family. Like we had been together since high school and we were like, okay, we want to get married, we want to start a family, like let's freaking go, right? And then boom, here comes the PCOS bomb. After my period had been gone for months and I blamed it on so many things. And I finally got it back naturally after 285 days. Yes, I tracked it. And then I went on to get pregnant with a little fertility help the first time, and then on to our surprise pregnancy that totally rocked my world. Let's throw in some gestational diabetes in there. And that's pretty much been my life in a really small nutshell for the past 4 years with all of the hormonal ups and downs of postpartum stress, life, work. So, if you're sitting there and you're like, why does she know so much about hormones? And maybe I don't. Well, I was kind of forced to have to know about them. And I was kind of like pushed and shoved to say, like, hey, figure this ish out, learn your body, learn your hormones. And after that passed, I was like, if I don't know this, no one is teaching me this. Who's teaching everyone else that maybe like isn't having to be forced to know it? And like, I hope you aren't forced to know it, right? That's not always the best case scenario to like have this diagnosis at play in these like really big things that you're trying to navigate. But I really truly feel like because I know this now, it's like I have to let other women know these things. Like, I want to teach them, I want to bless them with this knowledge. I want to help you to really actually understand this because it makes a difference everywhere in your life. Okay. Moving on from me, let's dive in here. So, I want to know what just like sucks the most right now. Like, literally feels like a time suck, an energy suck. Maybe it's completely draining you. What feels forced when it comes to goals or your life, work? Yep, and I talked to some women before I put this on, so I do have some answers. So even if you're not, if you don't want to open up and type it in, it's okay. But I would love to know if you are on, tell me in the comments. Again, I do love interaction. And even if you're here on Facebook and you're watching this as the replay, blow up the comments, like answer the questions because that's going to actually help you to take in this information if you're kind of doing this back and forth with me. But, maybe it's things like house chores, nutrition may feel like a suck right now, just life and feeling the like every demands and pulls of you in multiple different ways, body issues both physical and image, figuring out balance of home time, work time, family time, adulting, friend time, right? We are pulled in 9 million directions all the time. Yeah, on day 2 of your cycle and have zero, everything taxes ton of energy. Wait, yeah, it takes a ton of energy right now. I feel that. And maybe for you, it's kind of this like feeling like you're behind or you're just always trying to catch up. Stress at work sucks. Oftentimes I hear from people, judgment and opinions of others. That can suck. And some things that maybe you're feeling forced right now for you might be working out. Even just like taking care of yourself may feel forced. Anything house related, movement. Someone that I talked to recently, for her, it was really like house projects and her husband wanting to get them done like ASAP, like, let's go, let's get it done. And she was like, I don't have the time or the energy for this. Like, you are like, it's feeling forced and it's sucking the life out of me. Financial stress. Yeah. And why do you think that is? Why do these things feel like a suck and just like forced? Maybe it is societal norms, expectations of others, and maybe even ones that you place on yourself. It could be coming from fear of judgment, trying to make everyone happy. These are things that I often hear from women when I ask this question. And you know what? Oftentimes, I never get the response of hormones. And when I see things, when I hear these things, I'm like, hormones, hormones. Where's she at in her cycle? I mean, for like my mind, it's even whenever I'm watching stories of women and they're talking, I'm like, that's interesting. It was about like 3 or 4 weeks ago that she was kind of talking about that same thing. And then it kind of like went away. And now it's coming back again. I'm like, I wonder where she's at in her cycle. I wonder if she knows where she's at in her cycle, if she started to connect these pieces, right? And because, like, here's the thing, depending on where you're at in your cycle, because maybe for you right now, you could have been like, nothing really actually sucks right now, like maybe just those one or two little things you may have had to like really dig because you're like, oh, she asked, so like I need to answer it. But others of you were like, I can write you a freaking book for what sucks right now and what feels hard and what feels forced. And that's all because of where you're at in your cycle. And there's no shame and there's no judgment whatsoever on that. If you're the one that could have wrote a book or you were like, I got to dig really hard to find what's sucking right now. No shame, no judgment. But I would almost guarantee if we really looked at it and we figured out where you're at in your cycle, we could connect so many dots and unlock so many things. So I want you to imagine for a minute, you're driving along the road and there's those bumps on the side of the road, right? And so if you're driving along, maybe you're trying to like pass a snack back to your kid. Anyone else? Like, God, I swear, Zoe, she's almost 3 and she needs snacks constantly. Like, that's the only thing that keeps that girl happy in the car. So you're passing the snack back to your kid and you like swerve a little bit, right? And you hit those bumps. Or maybe you're messing with the air or the radio, you get distracted. Maybe you even start to like fall asleep. You got too close to the edge of the road or crossing into another lane, and those little bumps were there. That little like da, 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 right? Like, I feel like that's how it does in my car. Doesn't do it in that. Doesn't do that in your car. But they have those little bumps. And those little bumps along the side of the road are there to clue you in, to bring your attention back, to like wake up, to say, pay attention, get back on the road, get back in your lane, right? That is the purpose of those bumps, to keep you from crossing into another lane, into a danger zone. It is to keep you safe. Now, I want you to imagine for a second if you completely ignored those bumps on the side of the road, if you ignored those warning signs, what would happen? You would cross into another lane, potentially harm yourself, someone else, extremely damage your car, could damage property, right? It could be really bad. So we know not to ignore the warning of those little bumps on the side of the road. We know to tune in, we listen, we feel it, and we course correct. So tell me why it is that we as women ignore those warning signs that are happening in our own body. Those little bumps along the road, those are happening in your body every single day. In our body, it's not always that they're bad warning signs. Like, obviously when we hit those on the road, it's like, hey, like this is something bad. But like our body is sending us these signals, good and bad, all day, every week, every month. So why are we ignoring them? Well, I have found that number one, no one actually clued you in that like these warning signs are happening. Again, especially for the bad ones, for like the kind of red flag that, hey, please pay attention to me. Like for those, it was just kind of like you woke up in the ditch and you were like, oh shit, I need a doctor now. But ignoring everything that feels forced and everything that is like sucking the life and energy out of you right now, ignoring those warning signs that your body is throwing out, why is that? I've also found that it's because we have become like conditioned and we were programmed over time to ignore those warning signs, to ignore the language that our body is speaking from the doctor who like totally dismissed you when you brought up the symptoms you were having. Anyone else? I've had multiple doctors. Before I was diagnosed with PCOS, I went for allergy testing and it was like, nope, everything's fine. You're fine. Lab work, nah, it's pretty normal. You're average. It's cool. Like I was low end of average and some things were even low, but they're like, yeah, it's fine. Probably just stressed, right? Every doctor that I saw, it was just brushed under the rug, brushed under the rug. But also like from all of the outside noise the society is screaming at you, right? There's constantly this do it my way, do what I do to have these results, right? Have you seen those accounts where it's like, here's what I ate to lose 50 pounds? And you're like, okay, cool. If I just eat just like her, I can lose 50 pounds too. But might not be the case. Same goes for like the workouts, right? It's like, here's my exact workout that I do for my PCOS and maybe it works for her, it doesn't automatically mean it'll work for you. But there's all that noise constantly coming in. I mean, there's so much noise coming in and it is so loud that you forgot to listen to yourself, to trust yourself. And all of those things that we just mentioned that are like feel like they're just being forced, that's because oftentimes you're living out of alignment. You're not truly tuning into the language that your body is speaking. You're no longer connected to your own wants and needs because everybody else has dictated that for you. And maybe for you, maybe you just listen to all of that and you're just like, no, not really. That doesn't really sound like me. Maybe you're the person who's doing everything according to the clock. You have been timing it all, checking the boxes. Like you are doing the dang things. But, with a clock, at some point, daylight savings times comes, right? And it hits, and all of a sudden, like those clocks need to be adjusted. They need to reset. And you keep meaning to do it, right? You keep telling yourself, oh, yeah, redo the clock. I need to redo that. And at some point, you just kind of conditioned yourself to know, like, whatever, like the clock is just off. Like, I know it's an hour behind or an hour before, depending on like wherever, time, whatever, right? Time zones and time change. Why do we even have those? That's not what we're here for tonight. But all of a sudden, like 6 months goes by, and now a clocksmith is checking it out for you because, like, you can't even get the dang thing to work, right? And the words, like, I think your clock is broken, comes out of his mouth. PCOS, hypothyroidism, infertility. Maybe you don't have a clinical diagnosis, but you too feel broken. But you know what? You're not broken. Like, did you even catch that the clocksmith said, I think? Meaning it's not a for sure. Maybe it just needs like a little tune up to get it back in sync, to get it back in rhythm. And same for you. Yes, you are a cyclical being. Again, we're all women here. If somehow you're a man listening to this, well, just go ahead and tune out. Get off, okay? You're a cyclical being. Your hormones run like a clock on this like 28-ish day cycle, or it's supposed to, anyways, right? So many things can throw that off. But when you ignore daylight savings time and 6 months goes by of your brain just saying, like, oh, yeah, I'll fix that, pay attention to that, change me, look at me, without actually doing it, Well, then you need a tune up. You need someone to check things out, see what the missing part is. You have to get reconnected, get it back in sync and back in rhythm. So, how do you move out of this forcefulness? How do you start paying attention to what your body is telling you and what it is that it actually needs to be its healthiest and happiest? To have all that energy when we very first started, right? Everyone, and again, I bet even if you're listening to this as the recording, you were like, yes, I need more energy, right? So, how do we do that? To have that energy that you so desperately want, to help your hormones, because that's being shouted everywhere these days, I feel like, right? From cortisol to gut health to do these 11,000 million things for hormone health. And, I talk to women all the time who want to lose weight, who want more energy, who are tired of being bloated and uncomfortable. You want to balance out your hormones, right? You're tired of the extreme PMS symptoms, which, like, PS, extreme PMS symptoms, extreme fatigue, extreme bloating, your period, like wiping you out, making you like just want to die or stay in bed for the entire week. Like you wish that you could call work and just take off every single time your period shows up. Red flag, not normal. But guess what? All of those things that you want to get rid of, those are those little bumps on the side of the road saying, warning, warning, pay attention to me. Okay. That's your body's way of communicating to you that, like, the first thing that we have to do, though, if we no longer want things to feel forced, is to get back in tune with your body. To have the energy that you want, you got to get connected to your cycle. And I wish that I could give this all here to you tonight. Maybe it's daytime if you're listening to this as the recording, but we would be here all day and night, way too many hours, because there's so many pieces of this. And honestly, that's why the cycle connection was created. And I can tell you about that later. But when I say get connected to your cycle, like, here's what I mean: knowing the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle, because yes, it is so much more than just the days that you are bleeding. It is so much more than just, oh, okay, period done. Now I'm just waiting for my period again. Oh, hey, my period, you showed up. Period. Waiting for my period. No, it is more than that. There are 4 phases of your cycle: menstrual, follicular, ovulatory, and luteal. And knowing like where you're at in your cycle, yours, not mine, yours, knowing where you are at in your cycle. How do those 4 phases affect you mentally, physically, energetically, emotionally? And then, because that's the first part, you got to know how your cycle feels, what it's doing to you, what are your symptoms, all these things. Because then we can layer in things to help you, right? So, like, we can layer in things that say, okay, well, naturally, right now, your energy is high, but guess what? We can take it even higher. Here's the things we can do. Or how do we learn to tap in and protect our energy when our hormones are at play and naturally it's a little bit more draining? We have lower energy because of where we're at in our cycle. How can we learn to protect that? And again, but build up on it, right? By doing things from tweaking how you're exercising and changing up your movement patterns to fit into the 4 phases. Same goes for food. But you can't do any of that. You can't make those shifts and those tweaks and those changes unless you know where you're at in your cycle. You've got to get reconnected. Maybe for you, it's like connected for the first time ever to truly understand that, like, your period doesn't have to suck. It's not the enemy. In fact, it's your superpower. It's what clues you in to what your body is or isn't doing, and how you're either helping your hormones and helping your energy levels, or you're harming it. I mean, it's just pretty black and white like that. You're either helping your body to function and do its things, or you're like harming it. You're just like taking all of that away. But there's so much that goes into that. And like I said, like, we can't get into it all tonight. But like, the biggest thing, if I could leave you with anything, like, if you walk away from nothing else of this tonight, like, if it's this one thing, like, tune back in. If maybe you got distracted, okay, come back here with me. If I could give you one thing, it would be like when it comes to this cycle connection piece is to really start slowing down and getting good at getting curious of why things are happening, what's playing into it, right? Like something that I think we can all relate to is when maybe you see someone on social media and they're like, yeah, they're sharing their real, authentic life. And all of a sudden, like you start nitpicking yourself, your body, your hair, your smile, your home, your kids, everything, right? You just like start going at it. And all of a sudden, you're like shaming and judging them. But like, that doesn't happen every time, right? Have you even noticed that? Like maybe it's more like every 3-ish weeks that that happens. Hello to your hormones in your luteal phase. Um, First time ever hearing that, you're welcome. Now you'll be curious about all the things all the time because, you know, like what happens in your luteal phase and knowing these things again is how it's going to really help you. But in your luteal phase, everything naturally kind of starts to dip off. And so what's happening there is like when you know that that dip off is coming, you can start to prepare for that. You can shift and adjust your day to day to help you better handle like what your hormones are about to do and not force yourself into turning like your entire life upside down. And same goes for, if you start asking like what's feeling forced right now, like if you could go and write a book on it, I bet that you're in your luteal phase where everything feels heavier and harder. So in that phase, it's like, okay, what can I take off my plate right now? What can I maybe say no to during this phase? How can I, move more into um paying attention to like again my movement pattern? If my energy is already kind of starting to drain back, well, how can I change my exercise to like match that energy level? Does that make sense? So, like, again, when I say get connected to your cycle, this is this type of stuff that I'm talking about, and it really matters. And you've got to track it. That's why I created a tracker, and I can share the Amazon link with you if you're just like, hey, I just want to start tracking right now. I can share the one with you that I created. It's $15 on Amazon. But that kind of leads me into the second piece here of like, how is this like that we start to get rid of some of this like forcefulness, right? How do we get back in tune with our body, get connected to the language that it's speaking? Sorry, I should have brought more water over here with me. I get really fired up about this kind of stuff. So, like, I hope you're here for it. But how do we get back in tune with our body, get connected to the language that it's speaking, right? So that the way that we do this, right, the way that we get connected, it's through our subconscious thoughts and beliefs. And I know for some of you, you're like, this is too out there for me. She's going a little woo woo, but I promise I'm not because here's the thing. Our body and mind, they are not disconnected. They are not two separate entities. They are one. They are one connected. Both interact, right? If you think about it, like our brain sends out the signal for our body to do the things, and it's like doing the things, and then it's sending. This is super basic, by the way, but then it's like sending information back up so your brain can register it for the next send out. They are connected back and forth, out and in. So, we have to pay attention to what is happening up here because if your brain is constantly feeling like, oh my gosh, she is just so stressed all the time, like danger, danger, warning, warning. Well, then that's the signal that it's sending out to your body. And so certain parts of your body are going to start to shut down if it feels like it's in this like fight or flight mode, or if it's like, oh my gosh, we're just trying to help this girl survive. Well, we're going to shut down the things not needed for survival. And this is where things start to get broken in our body, right? This is where things start to get unbalanced and off. But if you think about like your brain and your hormones, sometimes we think hormones, okay, great, ovaries, check. No, starts in the brain, hypothalamus, pituitary gland, right? It's not just the reproductive system and your hormone and like of your ovaries, right? And so your body responds to everything that we're thinking. So if we think back to all of these things that are feeling forced right now, right? When we're allowing everyone else's opinion in, all the time, people on social media screaming, eat this way, exercise like this, adopt my morning routine, you must journal for 19 hours a day. Well, then it's like clouding your own thoughts. And so now maybe you're starting to have some like self sabotaging beliefs, some limiting beliefs that have like really set in because you've tried those ways. You really have. You've tried and you've failed, right? And now all of a sudden you are exhausted and you feel like, what's even the point? I just want to give up because, man, like all the things that are being shouted at me that I'm supposed to be doing, well, like, I can't even put another thing on my plate right now. Like, it is just too full, too much. No, thank you. Or it's like, been there, tried that, threw in the towel, didn't work. But oftentimes, if we'll get connected to our cycle, we can start to figure out like what our brain does in those different phases, right? So a lot of times, like when you've kind of given up before because your brain is yelling at you, well, this isn't working, it must be you, and you're not connected to your cycle. Well, maybe you didn't even realize it was just your luteal phase. Luteal phase also, by the way, kind of gets a bad rap, but when you start to figure things out and you change things in the phases leading up to luteal doesn't suck so bad, okay? But like when you're again, when those hormones are like naturally dropping off, it kind of gives us this like burn it all down feeling. Well, like you can start to know not to act on that. So when your brain starts to do its things, because again, your hormones drop off and it's telling you, like, you suck, you're a failure, throw in the towel, just quit, this has never worked before. Like, okay, this is just my luteal phase. I just need to make it through these 2 weeks and then that voice is going to start to go away. There's obviously like more things we can do, but even just knowing that says like, okay, don't act on these thoughts. Yes, let's dig into these thoughts, see where they're coming from, but like you aren't the problem. You aren't broken. Even though your head is trying to tell you are, like it is not true. Again, what happened was you got disconnected from yourself. So we've got to bring you back. We've got to get you connected again. So the cycle connection is the first piece, right? You got to get in tune with your body, knowing what your hormones are doing and how that affects your thoughts and feelings. And then you can start to listen to what your mind is saying, because oftentimes it's saying not nice things to you and those thoughts are hindering you. They're keeping you stuck. They're keeping you from having the energy that you so desperately want, from getting rid of the bloat and the uncomfortableness, from balancing out your hormones, because those thoughts are pointing to the past. They're bringing in fear, doubt, worry, judgment. And man, they are yelling at you, right? Of saying, don't even try. Why bother? Give up. You have tried a million things. But have you really? Have you really tried a million things? I doubt it, right? I doubt you've tried a million things, but maybe you have tried a lot of things, but our brain likes to take us to like the extreme, right? Oftentimes that, like, I like to call her your inner mean girl, like she really revs up. She's real nasty, right? But I bet the missing piece is that like you don't believe in yourself anymore. But when we can start to rewrite those stories, when we can rewire your brain and your subconscious, your body feels it. I shared this in the cycle connection this week, but like whatever your thoughts are, your body hears it, your body feels it, and your body responds to it. So if we're not careful, if we're constantly pushing crap out of here, well, then our body is getting crap. You know what I mean? And so your body has to know that like it's safe, that it's allowed to do what it's supposed to. Like your body does not like living in an imbalanced state. So if you've had your labs drawn recently and things are off, estrogen is off, progesterone is off, maybe you have vitamin levels off, vitamin D, B, iron, whatever it may be, your body does not like that. Your body is constantly working, trying to balance itself out, to repair itself, to replenish itself, to like get back on track, to get back to this like happy, balanced state. But if your brain is constantly like spewing out all these reasons why you're a failure, why you suck, why you're broken, well, then like that's what your body is responding to. And so it's like, oh crap, no, I'm not supposed to be balanced. Like it's just in this constant like turmoil. So we've got to help both. We've got to get your brain reconnected to your body in a good place. Your body has to feel safe so that it can do like what it's supposed to. It can say like, okay, I'm good now. We're good. We can make progress. We can move forward. And you can't do that if your brain is constantly kind of stuck in the past and bringing up all this fear and this doubt and this worry. Okay, does that make sense? And honestly, like that's what happens when with true coaching, because there's a difference in like teaching and learning and soaking up the knowledge piece of hormones. And I'm not knocking that at all. I love teaching you about your hormones and all the things you can do about it, how to increase your energy, how to lose weight. But it's like another piece to dig into your hangups, into your specific limiting beliefs and how it's keeping you from moving forward. Because okay, and actually that kind of leads me into this third piece. So you got to start getting reconnected to your cycle, right? To your body. Learning more about your hormones and the phases and what those are doing, how we can improve our hormones, to help us feel better, and all of that. And then we're going to layer in this brain component into our like mindset and our limiting beliefs and our mean girl. Okay. We're going to put those two together. But we've also got to do the doing part because it's not enough to just sit around and have knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. You cannot just be a sponge and just soak up all the knowledge and not do anything about it, right? I think that like you all know what a quarterback is, right? He's the one that tackles people. Yes? No, no, no. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I do know what a quarterback is. I'm not a super huge sports fan. I was a cheerleader, but the quarterback, okay? He's the one that throws the ball. Now, can you imagine for a second, like the greatest quarterback of all time, don't know his name, but maybe you do. Did he just sit there and like read a book his whole life? Did he just read on exactly how to hold the ball, how to throw it to get the spiral, to get more speed? Is that what he did? He just read a book and never actually picked up a ball. He never actually got out on the field, right? He just read. He just had all the knowledge. He was just soaking it all up, learning, learning, learning. What do you think? Is that all he ever did? No, of course not. But how many of you have read 19 million books? You follow a bazillion accounts. You have read blog post after blog post. You listen to podcasts. You have information coming in, coming in, coming in, but there's no implementation. You cannot just have information and not have implementation. You have to have both. Double lie, double whammy. You need both to actually make change. You want more energy? You're going to have to change. You want to be healthier? You're going to have to change. Want to get rid of bloat? We're going to need to change some things. So we can't just have the information. The information is important. I'm never going to knock that. In the cycle connection, you get the information piece. But we've also got to be doing something. We've got to put in the work. You have to implement what you are learning. And oftentimes that means you need some accountability. You need the support. You need those check-ins that let's make a plan that's in alignment with you. So it's not just like me over here shouting, do this, here's what I'm doing, here's what's working for me. Instead, it's like, okay, you're learning this. What is the right next step for you? What do you need to be implementing right now? What do you need to be focusing on right now? What does your season of life look like right now? Because that's going to factor into it, right? And so it's really important to know, like, okay, here's my goals. This is what I'm focusing on, for you, like actually saying that out loud. And then having someone to hold you accountable, to check in with you, to say, did you do it? Did you not? Well, what happened? How can we course correct? What needs to be changed, right? These are the types of things that you need. So you've got to have like all three, right? So again, if we think back to those like little bumps along the road, did you just like wind up in the ditch and like, oh crap, I need the doctor now? Or did you hit the bumps and say, oh, yeah, course correct, right? That's what you've got to start doing in your own body. And you need all three pieces: the cycle connection, the rewiring of your brain, and then the implementation of the information that you're learning as you go. And I want to circle back to like the forcefulness just real quick here. I promise I'm wrapping up. I said it, this was only going to be 30 minutes, but I really like to talk. Sorry. Hope you're okay with it. Want to circle back to the forcefulness that we were talking about at the beginning. How many of you feel like, even just like trying to set a goal feels forced? Like every time someone asks you, what are your goals? What are you working on? Or, again, maybe you see something on social media of people saying that they're setting goals, or here's their goal board. This is their vision board. You see those types of things and you're just like, oh, even that just feels like, no, thank you. Feels forced. Don't want to do it. Anyone? Like, maybe you're like, oh, yeah, I sort of kind of think about some goals sometimes, but, I've never actually written them down. I don't really tell anyone, not a big goal setter. Maybe for you, it's like, I've tried setting goals and I work on them for a couple of days. I really get going. And then a bad day comes and I just quit. Peace out. Here's the towel. Throw it in. Ditch the goal. Yeah, moving on, right? I'd be curious if those are your types of answers. What phase of your cycle are you in? Because if that's feeling forced, constantly feeling off, I bet that you haven't tried setting your goals in your menstrual phase. How many times has your period hit and thought, this is a good time to set a goal? Probably never, right? You're welcome. From now on, when your period shows up, and even if you don't have a period, you can still be tracking these things. I'm living proof. Promise you can still track these things. But next time it shows up, or you think that maybe your body is supposed to have a period and it doesn't, try setting your goals, because at that time, like, your body is actually primed and ready to like reflect and set goals, so that then when your follicular phase shows up, it is like go time. You've got the energy. You can actually start working towards those goals, starting to create habits and routines. And then now that you've started setting them, you're not just going to throw in the towel, because you've actually really started working on it. Like, and you feel good working on it and like checking off those boxes and doing things, right? So again, you've really like knowing all of these things about your cycle. That's how you then get to really truly capitalize on being connected, and then start to like layer in all of these other things. Because, so often I feel like we as women kind of know, like, okay, here's like the time frame to get pregnant, or you're like, oh no, I don't want to get pregnant. And then like we just kind of sit around expecting and waiting for our periods to show up. But like the timing of these things aren't by chance. They are on purpose. And knowing how your own personal clock ticks, how you show up for your life, and the things that you are like wired to do based off of your hormones, it makes the biggest difference. So that it's not that you get 6 months down the road of putting off resetting that clock and time for a change, and no, it no longer happens. Now you're able to quickly get back in sync, get back in rhythm with your body before your clock is entirely off and you need someone to come and fix it. So I definitely want to open it up. I know this has been a while. I was going to say we're almost at an hour. I was going to open it up for questions, but I think what I'll do instead is, if you're on live, if you have questions, drop them here. If you're watching as the recording, send them to me, and I may just do another video of just like straight Q&A, just to try to keep it a little bit shorter. But I do want to just quickly tell you about the cycle connection, in case it's something that you're interested in. There's never ever any pressure, but enrollment is closing for this round on Sunday, the 17th. So you've got a couple of days. I can definitely drop the link here for you of the website. I did want to just kind of show it to you, just so you'll know what it looks like when you're checking it out. But all of the information is here for you. Come on, computer. Haha, you do the things. Good job. But all the information is kind of here for you on cycle. This is insane to me. 9.5 million women, and I would bet it's probably even higher, but don't even know what any of the phases of the menstrual cycle are. You now at least know them. Maybe you don't fully understand them or anything, but you know them. Like, it is my mission to change this statistic, okay? But, oh, sorry, people on Facebook, that you can't see what I'm showing here. My bad. But right here it tells you like what you'll get in the 30 days. Don't pay attention to this. I changed the date. Should have taken that off. But it shows you right here what you get in the 30 days. So every single Monday I do a cycle connection live training. There is weekly Q&A, and don't worry if you're like, again, the timing, it doesn't work for me. I have a form where you can drop your questions, and that anything goes for those questions. What ifs, help me understand, how do I, whatever your questions may be. And then bi-weekly, you get bonus group coaching, which again, that's where we really get to bring in the life and performance side of coaching to start to dig into what's happening up here. And then you get, a few other things. So everything is here for you. And then obviously checkout option is down here. It is only $29. When I did my PCOS specific program, that was $600. So the fact that you're getting in for $29 is like chef's kiss. I mean, just amazing. So that is an option for you if you're like, I don't really know yet if I'm ready to join. You want to think it over, totally fine. I do have a wait list where you can just drop your information just so that way I know. I guess I didn't pull it up. Let me pull it up really quick so I can share it with you. But I do have that way. If you just want to drop your information, I can let you know before the next when enrollment opens again. Okay, that's trying to come up. So that's also an option. And then again, if you're just like, hey, I want to just start tracking things, like send me the link to your tracker. Those of you here on Facebook, I'll put it down in the comments when I get off here for you. But that's an option too. If you're just like, hey, I just want to grab the tracker. Let me start tracking these things first. Also totally fine if that's what you want to do, but I just want to kind of put those options out there for you so that you have them. And if it's something that, you have more questions on or whatever, just reach out to me. We can have like a real normal human being conversation and talk through things. But here is the wait list. And I'll also drop these in like the Facebook group and event and everything. So don't worry if you don't snag them right this very second. And then here's also the menstrual cycle tracker link. Copy. Alrighty. Well, like I said, if you have any questions, actually, let me do the drawing really quickly for those of you on live, because I can see that Lauren was on Facebook. We have Megan, Lauren, Sarah. Since you already won, I'll just leave you out, but thank you so much for being here live tonight. All right. So Megan, Lauren, and Brittany, the wheel is spinning. Alrighty, and Lauren, you are our winner for being on live here tonight. So Lauren, if you'll send me, do you guys hear that confetti and all the things? So fun. Lauren, if you will send me, Lauren, you're here on Facebook. If you will send me your address, I will get the 90-day tracker sent over to you. And again, if you guys have any questions, just send them my way. And I'll probably try tomorrow to sneak away from my kids while my husband is home. It's Father's Day and he can have the kids, right? And do just like some Q&A. So if you have anything specific about cycle connection that you want to know or anything that we covered here tonight, send those questions my way and I will get that done. But thank you guys so much for being on live with me. I would absolutely love if you shared like a takeaway or an aha moment. Even again, if it's in a private message, if you want to share it publicly, great. No pressure to do that, but I just love getting feedback from you guys. That way, as I continue to kind of tweak and edit things that I share, just those always just mean a lot to me. So if you'll send those my way, I would greatly appreciate it. But you guys have an awesome night. If you're catching this as a recording, have an awesome day if it's daytime. Thank you so much for spending almost an hour with me. I've got to learn to keep these shorter, but I have so much that I want to share always. So I hope that you had something that you found of value here. Thank you guys so much. Bye.